International Convention Center, Manila, Philippines, signed by the chairman of the Asia Pacific Regional Scout Committee, Paul D. Perkinson, and the regional director of the World Scout Bureau Asia Pacific Support Center, Mr. J.R.C. Panglinan. May I now call upon Mr. Tabagus Ari Rukumantra, Paul D. Perkinson, and the regional director. Mr. Rukumantra. Okay. Mr. Tam Kwek Kwen. Okay. Mr. Tuan Sifan. Mr. Tam Kwek Kwen. Okay. Mr. Pengaran Abdul Wahab bin Pengaran Hassan. Yeah. Mr. Pengaran Abdul Wahab bin Pengaran Hassan. What happened? Not yet in, I think. Muhammad Atik Zaman from Bangladesh. Mr. Sonimat Tan. Mr. Sonimat. Mr. Justin Hein Kim, the Vice Chairman of the Management Subcommittee. Justin Kim. And Mr. Neville Tompkins, Vice Chairman of the Management Subcommittee. May I now call upon May I now call upon the Finance Committee members to receive their recognition certificates, and I will request Mr. Wendell to stay and Mr. Chai Heng Lang to kindly come on the stage to hand over the certificates of recognition to the members of the APR Finance Subcommittee. First of all, we'd like to invite Mr. J.V.R. Gamboa from Philippines. Ms. Kalaros Nongpar from Thailand. You all have seen the work of the Finance Subcommittee. Scout Bazaar booth is there. Mr. Jimmy Ang. Mr. Jamaluddin Jamal bin Jinal. Mr. Jamaluddin Jamal bin Jinal, Malaysia. Mr. K.K. Khandalwal. Mr. Pengarin Alad bin Pengarin Haji Damit. Ms. Susie Yuliati. and Mr. Wang Alif Tengchen. Alif, the Vice Chairman of the Finance Committee. The Scout Bazaar Masters. Friends, on the Finance Committee for last 2 terms, we have a very special member who has been supporting us as a secretarial services on a very honorary basis. And the regional committee would like to recognize Ms. Anna Wong. This was an example where somebody was asked and she has been continuously helping us. Thank you, Finance Committee. Thank you, Management Committee, for the wonderful support during this triennium. And of course, chairmen, don't get disappointed that you don't have a certificate. The time will come. Thank you.
Congratulations to the Asia Pacific Subcommittee members, which have contributed much to the achievements of the APR Plan 2015 to 2018. We'd like to give again a round of applause to all the members. JL, please.
It's a special afternoon for today. I believe that everyone present in this hall is well aware that the Asia Pacific Regional recognizes the leaders from within Scouting and outside supporters who support Scouting with various awards. Friends, this afternoon, on behalf of all of you and the Regional Scout Committee, we are going to recognize with Asia Pacific Regional Meritorious Service one of our great supporter to Scouting, Mr. Ju Young Lee from Korea. The Meritorious Award to Mr. Ju Young Lee from Korea. May I now request the Awards Committee Chairman, Mr. Shriram Lamichane, with his team, with the Award Committee, to kindly come on the stage and join the Chairman, the 2 Vice Chairmen, and the Regional Director to present this very, very important award. I am missing one of our Vice Chairmen. Sir, the term is still not over. Mr. Wendell, where are you? I would like to read the citation. Mr. Ju Young Lee is currently the President of Korea Scout Parliamentary Association, KSPA, and the Vice President of the World Scout Parliamentary Union, a highly esteemed leader providing moral, technical, and financial support to the cause of Scouting movement in Korea. These important roles in WUSPU, National Assembly, KPSA, and the Jamboree Bidding Committee enable Ju Young Lee to facilitate desirable growth and development of youth in each member country, encourages Scouts in member countries to join WUSPU and be able to expand Scouting. pursue policy enhancement in support to the Scout movement, put legislative affairs to develop the Scouting cooperation with government and external organizations, support Scouting to the diplomatic activities with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Korean embassies overseas, attend Inter-Parliamentary Union every year to discuss youth policies and issues related to Scouting, conduct policy seminars yearly for the future of World Scouting, and encourage World Scout Parliamentary Union members in 97 countries to attend Scout Jamborees. With the strong support of Jo Young Lee, successfully the Korea Scout Association won the bid for the 2023 World Scout Jamboree to be held in Korea. He facilitated the passing of the bill at the National Assembly supporting the 2023 World Scout Jamboree Korea and pursued the enactment of a special law on the 2023 World Scout Jamboree in Korea. Mr. Jo Young Lee worked for the budget approval in the National Assembly for various events for the Asia Pacific Scout Jamboree, the preparation of the Special Parliamentary Union Committee meetings, and the WUSPU General Assemblies between 2010-2016. Exchange program for Scouts in developing countries through the WUSPU, including its operation. For his outstanding services to Scouting and young people, Mr. Jo Young Lee is conferred the Asia Pacific Regional Award for Meritorious Contribution. May I request the award committee and the regional committee to kindly present the award of meritorious contribution to Mr. Jo Young Lee. This is an excellent example, friends, where even from outside or in your own capacities, people continue to support Scouting. Thank you, Mr. Jo Young Lee, for your support to Scouting. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Be prepared. Dear Mr. Paul Parkinson, the chairman of Asia Pacific Regional Scout Committee, your birthday is totally same to mine. 30th September 1951. Yes, exactly. Yes. And my friend Scout Fellows, it's my great pleasure to meet all of you here, APR Scout Conference. I feel heartfelt honor to win this glorious medal in this meaningful place. I always believe that Scout movement is the most powerful solution to overcome youth problems and to achieve the peaceful world. So, I will try to contribute and work more and more for our Scout movement. As the chairperson of the Preparatory Committee for 2023 Korea Saemangeum World Scout Jamboree, I will do my best to support our young generation scouts have extraordinary experiences in a new paradigm style. Additionally, as the Vice President of USPU, I would like to introduce and invite all of you to the 9th World Scout Parliamentarian Union General Assembly, which is scheduled in Bangkok, Thailand, coming November this year. I hope many Scout fellows here to meet again in next USP General Assembly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ju Young Lee. Thank you so much. Next, we are going to have the input session. So dear delegates, observers, ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is the input sessions, comprising of 3 topics: good governance, growth, and WASM fee. The first input speaker on good governance will be delivered by Mr. Janaprit Fernando, World Scout Committee member, together with Mr. Malcolm Tan, highlighting the GSAT standards that is the benchmark of the good governance for all NSOs.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to be here with you this afternoon and introduce my brother Malcolm Tan of Singapore, who is a GSAT facilitator of the Asia Pacific region.
Thank you all for having me join it up on stage, Janaprit. I'm equally happy to introduce to all of you my good friend, Mr. Janaprit Fernando, member of the World Scout Committee, who is also a GSAT facilitator for the Asia Pacific region.
I'm looking forward to sharing this moment during the APR conference with you, Malcolm, and sharing together with every one of you about GSAT and the importance of good governance in your NSOs.
I'm also looking forward to sharing more about the support available to all NSOs on this topic as well. Jana, could you explain a little bit to me about what GSAT is?
Well, Malcolm, World Scouting is working hard to support its NSOs in building capacity to reach Vision 2023. To grow our movement to reach 100 million young people, GSAT is referencing our global support assessment tool, which we use to assess our NSOs and start them on a capacity strengthening exercise.
Oh, so GSAT is something like WASM's quality standard?
Yes, exactly.
That's great. Well, I've heard that WASM's quality standard is based on international best practices from both inside as well as outside scouting. It focuses on best practices related to good governance and quality scouting for organizations.
You are correct, Malcolm. As a quality standard, GSAT has several criteria on good governance, which sets a benchmark for NSOs to assess their capacity and identify areas which need improvement. We always focus on areas which we are most comfortable, like adults in scouting and youth program, which are our core business in scouting. Don't get me wrong, brothers and sisters. These are both very important, but a strong NSO also needs a good foundation of governance and organizational management to ensure that it can successfully deliver a great scouting experience to its members.
Wow. Before we continue, let's take a step back in time to when we first started on global support. Global support is now called capacity strengthening in World Scouting.
Good idea. Our work on capacity strengthening of NSOs started as an initiative back in 2011, when the World Scout Conference voted on the strategy for scouting.
Well, first, we envision WASM's capacity strengthening approach, which is a cycle that we follow that allows and takes NSOs through assessing their capacity, prioritizing the actions to be taken, receiving support that is tailored to your needs, and finally monitoring the progress that to be made.
If we look at closer, first step of assessing capacity of NSOs, the work in the area originally started when WOSM began a partnership with SGS, chairman referred to this morning, the world's leading inspection, verification, testing and certification company, which has a well-proven track record in government and non-governmental organizations audits. The process to assess NSOs was initially tested through the use of a SGS-owned NGO benchmarking standard.
Ah, yes. I remember well those days when we had the SGS NGO benchmarking audits. They started in 2012. A couple of NSOs took part from our Asia Pacific region, including my own.
You remember well, Malcolm, and from this experience, we wanted to create an organizational quality standard that was specific to scouting, focusing not only on organization and good governance best practices, but also on topics specific to scouting. This is when WOSM's quality standard GSAT was created in partnership with SGS, providing NSOs with a tailor-made tool meeting international standards.
You know, as we assess more and more of our NSOs through GSAT, we are starting to gather some really great insights on where we stand as an organization. These insights have helped us over the years to inform what support NSOs really need and what World Scouting needs to do better as an organization.
You are correct. GSAT has been a great tool to better guide our actions. In the current World Triennial Plan for 2017-2020, we have incorporated some GSAT learnings by making strategic objectives on good governance for items like inductions of national boards and financial management of NSOs.
Jana, I also remember reading something about assessing our NSOs in the World Triennial Plan. Can you tell us something about it?
Thanks for asking, Malcolm. Yes, there's an objective in the World Triennial Plan that refers to the assessment of NSOs. Our aim, my dear friends, is to ensure that 75% of NSOs have assessed their capacity by 2020.
75% is a really great goal to aim for. But Jana, do you know how many assessments have we really done to date?
I'm excited to share with you that to date, we have completed 105 assessments using GSAT. Some NSOs have completed multiple assessments, so we have currently assessed 50% of our NSOs.
50%. 50% is a great achievement towards achieving 75%. I wonder, out of this 50%, how many NSOs have completed the GSAT in the Asia Pacific region? Now, can all of you help me out? If your NSO has used GSAT to assess its capacity, can you please stand up?
All those who have gone through GSAT.
Please stand up. I know Singapore Scout Association has. Scouts
can we all give a big round of applause?
Come, please give it a warm round of applause.
These NSOs which have gone through GSAT in our region.
Well
we
done.
salute them. We salute you. Congratulations. We salute you. This is a great motivation to all other NSOs to go through this important assessment process. Talk to them and they will tell you what it is.
Yes, we encourage all of you to undergo a GSAT assessment. Janapreet mentioned earlier that there are multiple assessment methods. Janapreet and I will tell you a little bit more about these options. There are 3 of them actually.
Well, first we have the GSAT audit, which I am sure you are all aware of. A GSAT audit is a third-party audit where an SGS auditor comes to assess your NSO. We also have a WOSM assessment or a second-party audit, which is conducted by a trained WOSM assessor. Finally, your NSO also has the option to do a GSAT self-assessment to assess yourself the capacity level of your own NSO. These are the 3 methods.
Wow, it's great that we have so many types of so many assessment methods. It really makes GSAT as a capacity strengthening tool available for more NSOs with a variety of options. These WOSM assessments actually sound quite friendly. And they are conducted by trained volunteers and staff from within World Scouting. Because these are our own people. And they know all the ins and outs of scouting, and they want to be there to help your NSO to get a good picture of the capacity of your NSO and how to help your NSO move forward with even greater improvement.
Of course, these WOSM assessments are a great opportunity to assess even more NSOs in our region. If this sounds interesting for your NSO, please make sure you talk to us after the plenary input today.
Additionally, the GSAT self-assessment method allows all NSOs easy access to the tool to better understand WIRSM's quality standard. You can do an initial assessment yourself before heading towards the full GSAT audit or WIRSM assessment. Or you can simply use the GSAT self-assessment tool to monitor your process and capacity strengthening measures you can take for your NSO.
Thanks, Malcolm, for sharing. Everyone here will appreciate knowing that there are GSAT self-assessment guidelines available with many supporting resources to help go through the process on your own as an NSO. But maybe you want to do a GSAT self-assessment but need some support along the way. Just reach out to GSAT service team and one of our trained GSAT facilitators can be assigned to help you to complete your assessment.
Now, do you want to learn more about GSAT? Do you need help to undergo one of those 3 options that Janaprit and I have mentioned? If so, then please visit the GSAT service page at services.scout.org to access all of the great resources that have been created. You can get individual support or you can request to take an assessment once you're ready.
In APR, 13 out of 27 NSOs have currently been assessed, and we can see the average regional score here. Against the global average scores from GSAT audits and WIRSM assessments, hats off to APR for having an average capacity that is above the global average and above the average for majority of the GSAT dimensions. Can we give ourselves a round of applause for that, please?
Now, in particular, I can see from the screen that we in the APR region can be proud of our capacity in these areas: youth program, resource allocation, financial controls, and adults in scouting. Really, well done. Good work, everyone.
However, it is clear that through this, we still have some areas for improvement, and particularly in the governance framework, integrity management, and continuous improvement dimensions. We can all learn from each other and be inspired to do our best to continue strengthening our organization to help grow our movement to reach out to more young people. Malcolm, do you have any good examples of best practices that you can share with everyone?
Actually, yes, I do. But before that, I have to make a conflict of interest declaration. I've heard of a great successful story from an NSO called the Singapore Scout Association, of which I'm a member. So I must declare that there's a conflict, yeah? So anyway, doing a GSAT assessment helped the Singapore Scout Association to identify that they could make the conflict of interest process stronger within their organization. Since then, they've created a more robust process outlining in detail several potential conflicts of interest areas, and when they should be declared. There's also a good process to track these conflicts of interest. In fact, I heard that my NSO I know because of one of them, my NSO even shared these best practices with all other NSOs during the NSO showcase in the World Scout Conference in Azerbaijan last year.
That's a great example, Malcolm, of an NSO learning from the experience of GSAT and building their capacity. This success story from Singapore made me remember a best practice I have heard from Scouts Australia, where they implemented a few years ago a national governance committee to act as the internal audit committee to review financial controls and use. This is an important practice to implement for all NSOs, and we congratulate Scouts Australia for taking this good governance step as an outcome of their GSAT assessment. By the way, I was a facilitator for both those audits.
Yes. Another conflict of interest declaration.
Yes.
Right, we saw earlier on the GSAT results graph that we can all do better in the governance framework dimension and to increase our capacity in good governance overall. We wanted to take a moment to share a view about the work that has been done in this area and the support available to you from World Scouting. Jana?
First of all, we have financial management support that is being developed with the support of the Asia Pacific region with the work that has already been undertaken on this topic. This work on financial management of NSOs is evident in APR's above average GSAT results in the resource and financial controls dimension. We thank APR for these good efforts and progress.
This is really great, Jana, to see that we can really provide some helpful input and resources to NSOs so to help them better manage the funds as organizations. I also heard that quite a big chunk of work is being done to pull together an induction package for national boards. Is that true?
You are right. National boards are in place to provide strategic direction and ensure that decisions of the General Assembly are carried out. It is important that national board members fully understand their role and responsibilities and how this supports good governance of the organizations. I am happy that we are working to develop such a resource to help our NSOs on this topic.
Well done. And lastly, work is also being done at the global level on strategic planning, monitoring, and evaluation. The strategic planning toolkit for NSOs is currently undergoing a review and update, and the e-learning course is planned to be developed. So watch this space, you'll get more tools.
This work you talk about on strategic planning is a great link with GSAT. After GSAT assessment, NSOs identify their strengths and areas of improvement. These areas for improvement help to create an action plan which can be integrated as part of the NSO's strategic plan. GSAT is an excellent way to best understand the situation of NSO and key activities that need to be undertaken to not only build capacity against WUSM's quality standard, but also achieve your NSO's strategic priorities and growth.
So now that you've learned about WUSM's quality standard, or otherwise known as GSAT, I hope you've gained an appreciation for the need for good governance in an NSO. You've seen an overview of the capacity of NSOs in APERA, some of which are doing very well. You have been made aware of the areas that need improvement, and you have lastly learned a little bit about the support and resources available to help the NSO on the journey to growth. Now is the time for you in the NSOs, the top leaders, to get involved and to help World Scouting reach more young people through strong organizations.
Thank you, Malcolm, for this great overview. It has been great to share alongside you all this information about GSAT with everyone here at the APR conference.
It was my pleasure, Jana, to do this presentation together.
We have shared a lot of information in this short presentation, but I hope that everyone has gained some helpful insights into WUSM's quality standard and are motivated to learn more. Please talk to us during the conference if you have any questions on GSAT. And don't forget to check out our GSAT service page at services.scout.org/service/9.
Thank you very much for your attention, brother and sister Scouts. We look forward to working together with everyone to assess the capacity of all the NSOs in the Asia-Pacific region. Good scouting, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Janaprit and Malcolm, for the input on good governance. Thank you very much. The next input speaker is Mr. Yo Deman, another World Scout Committee member on the session of growth, which emphasizes the need to reach out to all segments of the society to have more young people and adults, and the approaches which NSOs may adopt. And Andy Chapman, sorry.
Good afternoon. Dear Madam Chairperson, my dear friends, dear brothers and sisters in Scouting, my name is Andy Chapman, and I have the privilege of serving as the Vice Chairperson of the World Scout Committee. And to my right is Yo Deman, another member of the World Scout Committee, and also the Chairperson of the Growth and Strategy Coordinating Group. It's wonderful to be back here in the APR, and it's great to be here in Manila. Over the next 15 minutes, we promise, we are keen to give you an update on the progress we're making as a movement towards our growth ambitions, not just for this triennium, but also looking forward to 2023. So we'll walk you through our global growth agenda and some of the exciting initiatives that we have coming up.
Thank you, Andy. But before we do that, before we actually take a look at the how and the what we want to do, we thought it might actually be useful to take a step back and look at the why we're doing this. Why do we have such an interest in increasing our numbers? Why is growth a key priority for our triennial plan? And why do we want to grow? There are several reasons, and they might be different from NSO to NSO. Maybe it is because you want to strengthen the sustainability of your organization. Maybe you want to strengthen your position when you have conversation with potential partners or with the government. Maybe you want to attract additional funding or reach new communities or diversify your membership.
So when we think about growth, we must always remember that everyone should have the chance to join Scouting, no matter what community they live in and no matter where they come from.
And we think it's fundamental to focus on growth because we are fundamentally agreeing that more Scouts create a better world, right?
Indeed. So 18,518. Can anyone guess what this number is? Any ideas? None? No? Well, 18,518, that is the magic number, my friends, of young people that we need to enable every day around the world in order to reach our target of enabling 100 million by 2023. 18,518 young people per day, every day, for the next 1,641 days.
Correct. So how do we want to do this? How do we want to achieve this very ambitious target? And this is where the WASM Global Growth Agenda comes into play. At the beginning of this triennium, we took a moment to sit down and reflect on how to best and most strategically approach our growth commitment and our growth ambitions. Our Global Growth Agenda that we are keen to present today provides a framework for our strategies, our plans, but also just our actions on both the short term and the long term to support our growth ambitions. First and foremost, it is important to also highlight that we are using a holistic approach when we talk about growth, because we strongly believe that sustainable growth is a product of focusing on three key areas: having a great, up-to-date, relevant, and engaging youth program; two, having strong communication and partnerships to help us spread our message and tell the story of Scouting; and three, a strong organizational capacity based on good governance to provide that foundation. The mix of those three elements are together what we call creating an enabling environment for growth. However, that's not enough. So in order to foster growth across the movement, we have identified and planned a number of key initiatives to boost our growth significantly. We will walk through them in the next few slides, but the 4 and the 5 ones that are included here are better measurement of our membership and outreach, a targeted approach to 30 NSOs initiatives, NSO growth commitments and WASM services, welcoming new members and new NSOs to WASM, and innovative ideas to foster growth.
So, for our first one, there's 2 parts of the first objective. First, the better measurement. So for years now, I'm sure you're aware that we've been struggling with outdated census data. So I'm pleased to report that in early 2019, we will initiate regional outreach to collect information twice in the triennium to track progress on the growth as a midterm, and then again, once we get closer to the next World Scout Conference in Egypt. This will be captured in a brand new NSO data portal that will allow NSOs the ability to input their growth data live online. And second is measuring the impact. And here it's important to remember what our Vision 2023 says. I'm sure we're all familiar, but just to refresh your memory. By 2023, we will be the world's leading educational movement, enabling 100 million young people to be active citizens, creating positive change in their communities and in the world based on values that we all share. The regional outreach will therefore also contain questions not only about registered members, but also impact to those beneficiaries of Scouting. So we're in the process right now of developing a concept for measuring the impact in local communities that we plan to roll out later in the triennium. Examples of these actually exist right here in the APR region, including MOP projects, Ticket for Life, Food for Life. So those young people experience a very real and often life-changing impact in Scouting, but they're currently not always counted. So, my fellow Scouters, let's change this.
Thank you, Andy. So that was number 1. Number 2 is a focus on our targeted support, where we'll be inviting 30 NSOs to work with them and to build national growth strategies together with them. So these NSOs from the 6 regions have been selected by the regions based on their high growth potential, where we look at their current market share as opposed to the large youth population available in the country. That, combined with the GSAT data that we have, their growth commitments and their willingness to grow, we've picked those through the regions to help us in achieving growth together. The plan is to develop together with them, with each participating NSO, a national growth strategy, with both short and long-term goals to foster growth in the country. Very soon, exactly in 10 days, we will be meeting again, and we will bring those NSOs together for a World Scouting Growth Seminar. You might have already seen this information through the recent Scout Pack. In the seminar, we will focus on capacity building, sharing of best practices, and laying the foundation for these national growth strategies. The idea is not to stop at just developing the national growth strategies. We'll also be working together with the NSOs in the next few years to actually help them implement these strategies using the services available through the WASM services. From the APR region, we are expecting India, Malaysia, the Philippines, Thailand, and Indonesia to join us in this journey. Our ambition is also to make sure that the lessons that we learn and capture from this process will be made available to the full membership, so that we really are growing all together.
And I think
sorry.
Yeah, and here just highlights the 30 target NSOs that will be or have been invited to meet with us in Germany.
Correct.
Next weekend.
Indeed.
But obviously, we're not just focused on 30, we're focused on all NSOs. So through the regions, we'll be initiating a coordinated active outreach to follow up with each and every NSO on their growth commitments. Now, we're also going to be identifying together how we can provide better support through the recently introduced WASM services, which I'm sure you've all heard of, and the development of a brand new growth service that will be added to the WASM services, so we can make growth a reality for each and every NSO.
The fourth point in our global growth agenda is focusing on welcoming new NSOs, welcoming new members to our global movement. We have a number of short and long-term strategies here. You will also remember the large amount of NSOs that already joined us in the previous triennium, including, amongst others, Myanmar, Macau, and Timor-Leste. And I also very much want to express my thanks for the work being done by this particular region to continue this process. We will soon be welcoming Vietnam to the movement, and I can only applaud the work being done to support Afghanistan. Next to that, we're looking at a proactive outreach to potential new members, and we are also initiating targeted long-term efforts towards Iran, China, and Cuba. We will also continue to foster support for short-term efforts in countries that are close to attaining WASM membership in this triennium.
Okay, and on top of all that, we're also currently developing a set of innovative approaches to accelerate growth significantly in the next few years. They will require all of us in this room and around the world to get outside of our standard comfort zone, which I know can be hard for us to do, but getting outside of our comfort zone, that's really where the magic of growth happens. So just some examples of this, they might include introducing school-based scouting in community-based NSOs, or introducing community-based scouting in school-based NSOs, or exploring STEM scouting, university scouting, or career-based scouting. My brothers and sisters, we must continue to challenge the status quo in everything that we do if we're going to avoid complacency and if we're going to continue growing scouting around the world.
I realize, or we realize, that in the number of things that we call innovative ideas, there's a number of NSOs here present in the room that are already doing that. Yeah. What we really want to do is bring those ideas and capture your expertise, and bring it to NSOs in regions across the world. So we will also be engaging with you and actively reaching out to a number of you throughout this conference and in the following days to try to capture that expertise and try to get you on board to get that support for those NSOs. Also, don't hesitate to approach us, either Andy, myself, or anyone else from the World Scout Committee, if you have some expertise to share in that regard. We, our movement, we will continue to need your support and commitment to live up to the promise to bring better scouting to more young people. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Joe and Andy, for the input on growth. For the last but not the least, input speakers, we would like to invite another World Scout Committee member, Mr. Peter Blatch, together with Mr. Luke Pensol, as the third input speakers to talk of WOSM fee.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Rico. With your indulgence, good afternoon, everyone. Could you all stand up, please? And we shake it a little bit. Okay, are we ready to take a big breath? Now, our chests are going to grow, okay? Big breath. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you the word scouting, and you've got to say row. Okay, and the number of times that I give you scouting is the number of responses that I must get. Are we ready?
Ready.
Scouting. Go. Row. Scouting. Row. Scouting, scouting, scouting. Brothers and sisters, please sit. Are we ready? Go. Up. Scouting. Thank you very much. My friends, we welcome back our Secretary General, Luke Paniso, who has been invaluable in the assistance that he has given us in our very, very difficult task. We are going to talk about WOSM fees. When I stood for the World Scout Committee, I said that I was prepared to do anything. My skills are not mathematical, but thanks to Dan Owenby and many others, I have learned a great deal. And I stand in front of you saying that Mr. Khalid, many of our other colleagues have worked very, very hard at presenting what is our final model. And whilst we can't talk about it in much detail in the next 20 minutes, at 5:30 with the Chief Commissioners, we would be happy to explain our model in greater detail. Furthermore, any of the members of the World Scout Committee would be happy to have individual discussions with you regarding the fees that's proposed. So as we get ready for the first slide, thank you, have a look at our Scout uniform. What is it that we are all wearing that unites us? Francisca, what do you think it is? It is round, it is purple, and it is on your left-hand side. What is it, everyone? It is our world badge. And what we are talking about is nothing to do with services that you get from WOSM. What we are talking about is what it costs each NSO to wear the purple badge and to have every one of its youth members wear a purple badge. Now, some of us in the room have grey hair. And if we have grey hair, it is likely that we may have been at a wonderful conference in Brazil. Were you at the conference in Brazil? Could you put your hand up, please? Okay, my friends, in Brazil, we recognised that the fee payment structure wasn't suitable. And it wasn't suitable particularly for some of the countries in this region. And since Brazil, we have worked very, very hard. And when I say we, I'm talking about members of the World Scout Committee. Members of 4 different World Scout Committees now have tried to resolve this issue. And it's with this brief presentation that we would like to share where we have come from. So what we will be doing is talking about a proposed model that will be presented next year to the conference in Egypt. Do we have the pusher or... sorry. My friends will remember that I'm a trained teacher of the blind and I'm not used to such audio-visual techniques. So what we are doing is that we're going to talk about the proposed fee structure. And every one of your international commissioners would have received advice regarding this in circular number 28 that was issued in August. As we've mentioned, many of us have been concerned about whether or not the fees that we are paying are fair and equitable to every National Scout organisation, and that a decision was taken at the 39th World Scout Conference in Brazil to freeze the fees. So we have not paid increases for the last 10 years on our registration fees. And the Brazil conference confirmed that the system was okay, the machine was okay, but it needed a little bit of fine-tuning. And so a group decided that we would try and fine-tune it. And we looked at more than 14 different models. And Khalid is probably remembering every one of these as we worked our way through, because we spent lots and lots of time. And we were influenced by some great economists and some great mathematicians. And I believe that if I can understand this fee system, anyone can, because I have probably the least mathematical knowledge of anyone in the room. My wife even balances our accounts. So based on the feedback that we gave, we presented a final model to the World Scout Committee in April of this year. The World Scout Committee has accepted the model, and if you remember, we had 4 different iterations of that model. We discussed it at the summit in Indonesia. We discussed it in information packs that were sent out to every NSO during 2017. We discussed it again in September 2017 when an updated version applied. And finally, what we have now is what hopefully all of you will have seen in Circular 28 that was issued in August 2018. It was a letter to the Chief Commissioners and the International Commissioners. It was a theoretical paper, it was a short video, and it was also a model, an indicator that would enable you to work out exactly what the registration fee would be for your NSO based on some specific information. Now, would you please put your hands together and welcome our mathematical and formula genius, Luke.
Good afternoon, dear brother and sister Scouts. I want to reassure the most senior leader in this room, who have known Luc Panissot for many years, that the one you are seeing now is not a mirage, is not a reincarnation, and not an hologram. He's real. If you don't believe me, come and pinch my skin. What do I hear? A little bit fatter? Yes, I'm not the only one.
Oh, careful, Luke.
Some grey hair, but I still have some hair. The real Luc you came to know years ago, but today in a somewhat different capacity. First, as a special advisor to the Secretary General, thank you, Ahmad, for appointing me to this position. And also as a member of the team working on the fees, on the group of the fees, thanks to you, Chairman Craig and Secretary Ahmad, to have given me the opportunity to work with that group. It is therefore with an immense pleasure that I'm standing in front of you today in this region, which for various reasons is very dear to my heart. I'm standing here to introduce you to the material that the World Scout Committee decided to deliver to NSO and to you to understand, or I should say better understand, the fee system following its recent endorsement of that proposed model. This material, as Peter said, was attached to the Circular 28 posted on scout.org on 8 August of this year. And what does it comprise? First, this circular of Secretary General Ahmad, who gives you a brief history of the work of the task force, and which invites you to visit the fee, scout.org/fee, the website /.org guide fee. You will find there a technical note, a short video, a fee simulator, a very interesting tool, and finally a question and answer section. When you enter that site, you will be welcomed by a statement presenting in a nutshell the history of the development of the work on this model. It will tell you right from the beginning, in the red rectangle, that basically the new model consists in two sub-models. A model for category C and D, which you'll be familiar with, system of categorization of National Scout Organization, which basically is based on the same model as the one which was until Brazil, based on an individual fee per member. There is no real innovation here, but you will see the result later. The real innovation resides in the countries of category A and category B, which remind you is the classification which has been retained by the World Bank, where we are shifting away from the notion of fee per individual member. We are considering that the fee applies to group of 1,000 members, and for NSOs which have less than 1,000 members in category A, it will be a $500 annual fees. Then it escalates by 1,000 members, and each time by $100, until 5,000 members, for which until 100,000, the fee will be $1,000. The same concept for countries in category B, where for NSO there is a membership below 1,000 members, the fee will be $600. Then it escalates by $300 for every additional 1,000 members until 5,000 members, at which it becomes $2,000 until 100,000 members. Then for every new 100,000 members, it is an additional $2,000 in category B and $1,000 in category A. Okay. We then have a short 3-minute video explaining the concept of the model. I will show you only a few seconds of that video, just to tease you and to motivate you to go on the website.
This is the entree.
The new approach is a fine-tuning of the existing model. Each NSO's fee is calculated according to their country's.
You want to know more? Go to the website. Then you will find a technical note, a 4-page technical note, which presents in a nutshell the system. The system is not that complicated. I can tell you, if Peter can understand it, you can all understand
Anyone
it.
can.
What I would nevertheless recommend is that you have close to you a glass or a cup of your preferred liquid, because it's a little bit dry to digest. Then you will move to that part of the website, which in fact is presenting a very interesting tool. It is a simulator which will enable each NSO to calculate its own annual fee, or what it should be if the system is accepted. You have to select the name of your country. By coincidence, Australia is the first alphabetical country in this region, so we have selected Australia. You will evidently select your own country, unless you are very curious to know what the others will pay. But once you have selected your country, the system will return to you. Oh. No. The system will return to you a figure which will be the figure of your, let's say, annual fee if the system is accepted. Australia, your fee is not going to be 22,000. It's going to be a little bit higher. But this is just for the sake of the demonstration. What the screen also shows you is what is your current fee, what will be your new fee, what is new category, the difference with your previous fee, that your current fee, the difference in percentage, in value, in absolute value, and in percentage per member. There are two interesting and important rectangles on this presentation. The second, the large one, is explaining to you that this system is based on the actual present data available. That is the membership of your NSOs. These are the last figure we know. The GNI per capita, the gross national income per capita of your country that we know. And the 5% youth membership, which is a limitation above which association will not be charged a fee. What is interesting in this system is that you can play with, you can play with each of the three figures on the top. Your youth population is not likely to change dramatically in the next 2-3 years. However, if you can read a crystal ball, you can play with the gross national income per capita of your country. You can hope or expect that it will increase or decrease. If you have a good crystal ball and you are a good reader, I wish you good luck. But what is more important is the membership of your NSO. And we hope that you will test there what any increase will result in, not decrease, please. We are talking of growth. We've just been talking of growth. Test new increases. And each time it will return you what the new fee will be. That little red rectangle also explains again that we are shifting from the notion of fee per member. What we want National Scout Organization to understand is that the annual fee they are charged with is a fee that enables the World Scout Committee and the World Scout Bureau to carry out and implement the grid orientation given by the World Scout Conference. It is therefore up to each National Scout Organization to determine how it will raise the funds necessary to pay this fee. Finally, you have a section which is a question and answer section. We have tried to compile here all the questions which have been raised by National Scout Organization and present them in a comprehensive manner. You can enter there, read the question, click on the arrow, and it will give you the response. Now, I'm briefly at the end of this presentation, and I would like to conclude by the following word. If you have any question, you can write to fees@scout.org, or you can ask any of the 4 people specialized on this system, Vice Chair Jemima, Juan, who is there, Peter, and myself, and also any other World Committee member. But more important is the following. This region has some of the largest NSOs in WOSOM in terms of membership. For a reason or another, these NSOs are facing often difficulties to collect large amounts of fees due to their size of membership. This problem has been dragging years and years. And as said by the Chair Craig this morning, the World Scout Committee has had the courage, because it requires a certain courage, and a political will to find a solution to this issue. And you will see from the individual result when you will go through the simulator that we believe it has reached the target. Indeed, APR as a region, as a whole, will see its global fee diminishing by $300,000. That's a decrease of 25%. And the millionaire in membership, or close to, National Scout Organization, the 5 or 6 NSOs we all know well, will see their individual fee decreasing by from 30% to 70%. But there is no mystery. What you are giving up on one side, you have to recover it on the other side. And some National Scout organization will be asked to pay more or a little bit more if we want to keep the same level of activity at the World Scout Committee and World Scout Bureau level and enable them to implement the orientation given by the World Scout Conference. We are just back from the Africa Regional Conference with Peter Jemima, and we have had the privilege to present this presentation in Africa. And I can tell you that Africa is not the most beneficial region with this system, but they have all said that they will support it. Our hope, and we anticipate it, is that after due reflection at your individual NSO level and collective level of the region, the World Scout Committee will also be able to count on the support of the APR region. We hope that you will do so. This will come to the floor in 2020. And again, we count on your support. Thank you very much for your attention.
My friends, as I sat at all the meetings, in the true spirit of solidarity, I recognise that some countries in Category C and Category D will have increases. But the country that has the highest GNI per capita in the world, if they chose to ask their youth members to pay the capitation fee, the reality is it is still less than a bottle of Coca-Cola in their country. Have a look at the purple badge. Surely being able to wear the purple badge is worth more than one bottle of Coca-Cola. Thank you very much. We look forward to discussions with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Peter and Luc. Well, but please join me to give a round of very big applause to the excellent input speakers, Jana Prith, Malcolm, Yodiman, Andy Chapman, Peter Vlach, and Luc. So next to the conference agenda is the WOSOM Triennial Plan 2017 to 2020. May we invite World Scout Committee member Yodiman again to explain the key strategies, expected outcomes, and how these world strategies are to be integrated in the APR plan and activities. Mr. John will be joined by the Vice Chair of the Jemima Natney.
Thank you for allowing us to be on stage once more. Last time today, I promise. So good afternoon, dear Madam Chair, dear friends, dear brothers and sisters in Scouting. Thank you for having us again. So today, on behalf of the World Scout Committee, we would like to walk you through our triennial plan for 2017-2020 and update you on the progress we're making towards Vision 2023 and try to convince you to walk with us on the same journey.
So, do you all remember the Vision 2023? This was adopted during the 2014 World Scout Conference in Slovenia. It's our 9th year path towards growing our movements, providing a framework and strategic guidelines for our journey together. Vision 2023 sets forth an ambitious target for our movements that is both challenging yet motivating. Let me stress that last part. Vision 2023 is a long-term strategy for the movement, not just the World Scout Committee or the World Scout Bureau, but for NSOs, your NSOs, for regions, your region as one of it, and for the world.
So in December last year, we published the triennial plan for 2017-2020, entitled Growing Together. It is our second installment in the journey towards Vision 2023. Therefore, it builds on the lessons learned and the progress made since the first triennium. The triennial plan ensures we remain focused on delivering what you, our national Scout organizations, are expecting. It contains details about our objectives, our key indicators to measure our performance, and it explains our operational framework and how we incorporated your resolutions into our work.
And so these are some of the key considerations. Our key priority for this triennium is growth, because we believe in our world needs, more than ever, young people with the values and skills of Scouting. Other key areas for the coming years include better support to our NSOs through the WOSM service model, unity of the movement, achieving impact, being recognized as the world's leading educational youth movement.
So, a very ambitious agenda, but how are we actually going to do this? So we've organized our operational framework in 3 work streams, one on educational methods, one on good governance, and one on communications and strategic partnerships. This, as you will see from the image, is coordinated through the Growth and Strategy Coordination Group, which sits at the center of the framework, and it also ensures coordination with the different task forces, which together with the standing committees are all playing a key role in delivering our triennial plan.
Our educational methods. Our youth program is, as always, our core business, and we have some ambitious plans in this triennium. We will be working to roll out the Scouts for SDGs initiative, strengthen our impacts on environment, continue our work on Safe from Harm, organize the 3rd World Scout Educational Congress, and I guess you're so happy about this. Are you happy about that? Just say yay. Yeah. Good. And this is coming up in December 2019 in Brazil, and you are all invited. Revitalize JOTI, strengthen youth engagement in NSO's bodies, diversity and gender equality, and of course, programs for refugees and migrants.
In terms of communications and partnerships, we're looking into supporting NSOs both with their internal and external communications, improving our WOSM NSO communications, leveraging global partnerships on local level, which includes, amongst others, with the UN Environment Programme and UN Women, and a global advocacy on youth-related issues.
And then for good governance, we're looking at supporting NSOs in strategic planning, monitoring and evaluation, financial management, measured impact of Scouting in country, and the continued implementation of GSAT.
So the Growth and Strategy Coordination Group brings all of these different strands together, and we try to make sure that we make advancements on the triennial plan as such. So it ensures progress towards Vision 2023. We try to foster collaborations across the work streams and task forces and the regions, and we oversee WOSM's global growth agenda.
And for the task forces, last but not certainly Last but certainly not least, we have a number of task forces established to deliver on a number of key resolutions from the conference. These are currently working on finalizing the new registration fee system, establishing an ethics committee, developing the concept of evolving youth forum and conference, looking into size and effectiveness of World Scout Committee, and reviewing WOSUM languages.
So this is, of course, just a very brief and quick walkthrough of the triennial plan. I, and together with the World Scout Committee, invite you very much to discover all 30 objectives and the 32 key performance indicators of our triennial plan. You can find it online on scout.org/triennial plan. And as always, we very much welcome your inputs and feedback through growing together at scout.org. One final reflection maybe from our side. Plan is titled Growing Together. It's not because it's a catchy title, it's because we actually fundamentally believe that together is the only way that we will achieve Vision 2023. As Jemima explained, Vision 2023 is the vision for our movement, not just for the World Scout Committee or the World Scout Bureau. It's a vision for our regions and for our NSOs. We therefore also call very much upon you that in the work that you do, and I also want to applaud the APR region already in doing this, aligning with the Vision 2023 and the triennial plan will ensure that we don't have too confusing messages towards the NSOs. We're all working towards the same targets and the same goals. And so my calling upon you is to not just align your regional plan, but also your NSO plans with this Vision 2023. Jemima and I walked you through a number of the key priorities for our triennium and looked at the different work streams. Our goal is to ask you to also align your NSO with those objectives wherever possible. Because we also need your support to complete this global to-do list for the years ahead. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joan Jemima, for presenting the WOSUM Triennial Plan 2017 to 2020. Please be informed that the WOSUM Triennial Plan 2017 to 2020 will be distributed and be made available for all participants as conference document number 18. Now, brothers and sisters in Scouting, may we now invite Mr. David Berg, World Scout Bureau, to be on stage to give an overview of the WOSUM service model, on what and where the services be extended to NSOs, and how the NSOs will benefit from the WOSUM service model. And Roger Villa of BSP will be joined.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dear friends in Scouting, I am delighted to introduce to you the one and only Roger Villa, the Secretary General of the Boy Scouts of the Philippines.
And dear friends, I'm equally delighted to welcome with me on stage David Berg, the Global Director of the Organizational Development of the World Scout Bureau. How about a big hand to David?
So Roger, how are you doing today? How's the conference going?
Well, not because we are the host, the way I see things, the way I see everything that is happening today and unfolding is in accordance with the plan. Everyone, both the World Scout Bureau and the BSP project management team are doing well in their respective tasks. And I can see very glaring that teamwork is in action. Of course, this would not be possible without the full cooperation of our conference delegates. So we'll just wait for things that will come or unfold before your eyes in the next succeeding days. But David, I read in the Scout Pack and WOSUM Facebook page that there's something new provided by the World Scout Bureau. It's called some sort of WOSUM services. or some sort of. Can you tell us more about this?
Sure, Roger. So let me see how I can best explain that. If I recall well, the Boy Scouts of the Philippines, they undertook a GSAT assessment a couple of years ago, right?
Right, that's correct. It was an insightful experience for the Boy Scouts of the Philippines. So is GSAT one of those services?
Yep, it is. It is one of 12 currently available WUSM services.
Oh, wow. 12 services. That's a lot. Why so many? What are you trying to achieve with this?
Well, they are part of WUSM's capacity strengthening approach. And as you will have heard earlier from Janaprit and from Malcolm, they had a sort of similar slide. And let me explain this a bit to you, what this means. So the first step is GSAT. It's how we assess capacity of a National Scout organization. It's how we measure the strengths and weaknesses of a National Scout organization. The second step is helping National Scout organizations and their leadership, once we know their strengths and weaknesses, to develop an action plan. What can you do to increase growth in your National Scout organization? The third step then is to bring that action plan into action. And in the fourth step, we measure how well those actions have been successful. And we share the story to other National Scout organizations. Does that make sense, Roger?
Yes, that makes sense to me. Now, why this new initiative called WUSM Services? How does this fit into the picture?
Well, we've been evaluating this, and as you heard before, we have over 100 National Scout organizations who have been assessed, and that's more than 50% of the total amount worldwide so far over the last 5 years.
50%? That's really good progress, David. But what's that red line on your screen, David?
So that red line is basically of an evaluation we did a year or so ago. So when we asked all National Scout organizations if they felt they received the support they needed after doing a GSAT, they were all very positive about GSAT. They said, yeah, this was really interesting for us and we learned a lot, but the reactions of the support they got afterwards, they were a bit mixed. Some were very satisfied, others didn't really know what support they could get, some had to wait a long time. So we figured we not only need to assess NSOs, but we need to streamline the way we deliver support to National Scout organizations around the world.
So that's what WUSM services are all about. Making sure that all NSO around the world have access to the same set of WUSM services with the same high quality and speed of delivery?
Exactly, Roger. And the end goal of these WUSM services is, of course, that all this helps to fulfill WUSM's vision, that we grow our membership, that through streamlining our support to NSOs, that they ensure that more young people around the world can become active citizens and so achieve sustainable growth across the movement. Now, I can talk a lot about this, but I have a video clip which explains this all a bit in more detail. So shall I put that on so we can look at that?
Sure.
Welcome to the WUSM service model. This is your new one-stop shop for everything that a National Scout organization might need from WUSM. It streamlines our support services to you, the NSOs, so together we can provide an even better experience to even more young people wherever they are in the scouting world. So what exactly is the WUSM service model? The service model groups together all the resources available to NSOs, from policies, toolkits, and guidelines, to e-learning and in-person support, even workshops and training courses. We've included material designed at regional and world levels, as well as best practices from NSOs themselves and advice from experts. We've organized these resources into 12 key areas: youth program, youth engagement, adults in scouting, safe from harm, better world framework, diversity and inclusion, spiritual development, scouting and humanitarian action, good governance, global support assessment tool, communications, and partnerships. As we go along, we'll expand these areas and even create new ones to ensure that you, the NSOs, have the support you really need. How does the service model work? It's based on 4 simple principles: providing full visibility to NSOs about the support available from WASM, ensuring a user-friendly experience for all NSOs, making it easier to request support, ensuring every NSO, wherever they are in the world, has access to the same services and the highest quality support, and enhancing monitoring and evaluation of WASM support for NSOs to ensure continuous improvement. We've developed an online platform which contains everything you need to know about the service model, the resources available for each service and its corresponding support areas, and most importantly, the ability to request a service from WASM. How can you request support? Any NSO in good standing with WASM can request a service through their designated official contact person. Once your request is submitted, the World Scout Bureau will evaluate it, and our skilled consultants, staff and volunteers, will follow up. The whole process will be monitored on the platform, so we provide the highest quality support and continuous learning worldwide. What does this mean for WASM? Providing high quality and impactful support to NSOs is of paramount importance to achieving Vision 2023. The WASM service model marks a major shift in the way we support NSOs. For the first time, support will be streamlined, focused, and effectively monitored. The WASM service model has gone from idea to reality in just 1 year with the support of the Messengers of Peace initiative. Excited? Check out the WASM service model platform, and if you have any questions, get in touch through services@scout.org.
Whoa, that's really a game changer, David. Before this presentation, it's not quite clear to me how could we access or get support from WASM in a number of ways. But it's clearer now, David, to me. Really good. That's also all together on an online platform, so everybody can access to it, David?
Yeah, absolutely. And you see the 12 services here on the screen. And in each of those services, you will find, in an organized way, all the resources WASM has worldwide available around that topic. So that could be, for example, in each of those services, publications we have developed over the years in the very different regions. It could be handbooks, could be toolkits, and you can readily download those in multiple languages available. It could also be, in the same service, an e-learning module. We're still developing this, but our goal is that by January 2019, there's at the minimum 1 e-learning available in each service. And finally, you can also get in-person support. Because maybe you say, well, I can download materials or I can follow an e-learning, but I would like to talk to an expert, somebody who really is knowledgeable and who can explain this to my National Scout organization. And that could be either by Skype or by email, or it could be an in-country visit or an opportunity to participate to a regional or a world training. So, Roger, let's talk a bit about this in-person support. Because I have been told you know a lot about this.
Some sort of, David. I had the opportunity last May to be trained as a WASM consultant in Tunisia. This group of people, which will be enlarged over time, are experts in service and will provide the in-person support to our NSOs.
So, Roger, are you like the one and only expert for the whole of the Asia-Pacific region, or will you have any comrades to support you in Asia-Pacific?
Luckily, I'm not alone, David. In the first training, we were with more than 50 participants from all around the world, both volunteers and staff. We also aim to add external experts, non-scouts, over time who can help us in specific topics, for example, on financial management and humanitarian action. That way, our NSO can also benefit from the expertise outside of the Scout movement.
So, can other people, like people in the room here who feel they are an expert in one of the services, can they also become a consultant?
Yes, David. There will be additional trainings organized in each region to broaden the pool to ensure diversity in terms of region, culture, expertise, and language. If people in this room are interested in this and feel sufficiently experienced, with one of the services that was presented by David, you should not hesitate to approach and talk to our regional director, J.R. Pangilinan. Now, David, let me put back my hat as a Secretary General of the Boy Scouts of the Philippines. Say, I want to request for BSP one of those 12 services. How do I go about that?
Well, Roger, here at the conference or at any regional event, you can, of course, just talk to any of the regional staff or committee. Basically, anybody in a gray shirt you can talk to request support if you feel your National Scout organization requires so. But you can also request support 24/7 on services.scout.org, where any NSO can request a service from WUSM. So what you basically do is you surf to our platform and you click on the service you think you need support for. And the first option will be on any service page to download the resource which we have currently available. So that could be a publication or a handbook, or from January 2019 onwards, you could take part in online e-learning trainings.
This is sort of self-training then?
Yeah, self-training, self-service. But if you feel you need more help than just a downloadable publication or an e-learning, you can request in-person support. Only international, you can click on the big button, request a service.
And anybody can request a service for my NSO? That seems a bit risky, David.
No, not anybody can request a service for an NSO. Anybody can download a publication or take part in an e-learning, but if you want to request in-person support, you need to be logged on to scout.org and have the right credentials to request in-person support. So only international commissioners or official NSO contact persons can file such requests.
Okay. So say I request a service for Philippines, maybe to help us develop a better world framework in our youth program. What happens next?
So once you click the request a service button, or you ask anybody in a gray shirt to ask for support, that will initiate basically the life cycle of a service request. It will be reviewed by WUSM, then approved and delivered.
Okay, but why does we need WUSM to approve it? I know pretty well that my NSO needs that service.
I fully understand that, but you know, Roger, we believe it's important we review a request together with you to refine it and make sure it's fully tailored to your needs. Mm-hmm. So maybe we find out through a discussion we then have with you as Secretary General of BSP that you really actually want support on the Scouts of the World Award, for example, or the Messengers of Peace peace program, instead of the whole Better World framework. So it helps us tailor your request.
I see. And you said earlier that all NSOs around the world will get the same quality and delivery time. How do you ensure that, David?
That's a very good question. So that's why we have this platform on services.scout.org as well, to coordinate and have an overview of all the service requests around the world. So we can make sure none of the service requests fall between the cracks and all are handled speedily. And for each service we will deliver to NSOs, we will also ask National Scout organizations to evaluate us, so that we compare the quality that the World Scout Bureau delivers around the world and learn from where we do not so good and leverage where you evaluate us very positively.
Wow, that's a massive undertaking, David, and also a lot of information we just downloaded on the audience here. So if the delegation have more questions still about the WUSM services, David, where should they go?
So they can reach out to any APR staff, or you can email to services@scout.org. And we'll also have later today special sessions with the ICs, the Chief Commissioners, the Communications, and the APR Palaver. And there also we'll be able to answer any additional questions you might have around the WUSM services.
I'm sure of that, David. There will be a lot of questions. But first, now, let's clear the space in this stage for some exciting announcement about the regional committee election. Shall we?
Let's do that, Roger, and thank you. It was excellent chatting to you again.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David and Roger, for giving us the insight of the WOSM service model, which will bring more benefits to our member organizations in WOSM. Next session will start at 4. Until then, we'll have a very short break. Please relax.